Motivation are trains that you should never board. Because if you look at trains, trains take you from one place to another. So when you're at the train station, you pick a destination and you board a train and the train kind of takes you there. So the same thing happens with motivation. So you have these goals that you want to achieve, right? So when you're motivated towards that goal, motivation kind of makes it easier for you to do the things that are needed for you to achieve those goals. So when you're motivated to working out, motivation makes it easier for you to lift the weights or do the push-ups compared to when you're not motivated at all. But since trains are the fastest way to go from one place to another, like trains don't stop for anything unless the emergency thing was pulled or the thing runs out of power. It's similar to how motivation only gets you to do the easiest thing currently on hand. So motivation doesn't stop to consider the other things that are harder. So the first thing to kind of consider is that motivation works both ways. On one hand, you can get motivated to working out or to studying. But on the other hand, you can also get motivated to just do nothing or play games or scrolling to social media. And when you have those bad habits and you want to change them, motivation kind of works against you. So for example, if you want to study but you can't, the problem is not a lack of motivation. It's that you're more motivated to just play video games or to sit around all day or to just scroll through social media. And when you look for motivation to study, since that's what you think the problem is, since studying is a hard thing for you to do, then motivation kind of puts that off and goes for the easier thing instead, which is sitting around all day or just playing video games. So the second thing that you kind of want to consider is that motivation either makes things easier or harder. So when you try and motivate yourself to study, it makes it easier for you to study, sure, but it makes it harder for you to resist playing that video game or just sitting around all day. Man, talk bro, what the hell? So here's what you do instead. Slow down and don't act on impulse. So when you have to study but you can't, recognize that you have multiple options. So option 1, you want to study, right? But then option 2 kind of pops up, you want to play video games. And then option 3, you just want to sit around all day. And option 4, then you kind of just want to scroll on social media. Or option 5, you kind of just want to work out instead. When you list them like this, it makes it easier for you to decide on what you want to do right now, instead of impulsively trying to decide what to do at the spur of the moment. So take your time to decide and list out your options on what you want to do right now. So like what I said, option 1 is study. Option 2, play video games. Option 3, sit around all day. Option 4, scroll through social media. Or option 5, work out. So when you list all of these things, you can slow down and then decide and not act on impulse. Because when you act on impulse, again, motivation goes for the easiest thing currently on hand. So the second thing that you kind of want to do is focus on the action and not the goal. So what do I mean by that? So when you have goals like having an aesthetic physique or having an A+ in math, those goals kind of make it harder for you to do the things that are needed to achieve that goal. So for example, having an aesthetic physique is making it harder for you to work out, especially when you're just starting out, because when you set goals that are too far away from you, you kind of think that what you're doing right now are not enough. So when I set a goal to get an A+ in math, it kind of makes it harder for me to study because right now I don't understand math. But my goal is to have an A+, which that's too fucking far. So yeah, again, focus on the action and not the goal. So instead of motivating yourself to have that aesthetic physique, motivate yourself to lift the weights or do the push-ups. And the last kind of thing that you want to do is to not let failure stop you. So recognize that when you're working towards something, you have to let yourself fail. Society kind of makes us think that failure is a very bad thing, but for me, I think it's the only one thing that makes us better. So when you try to work towards your goal, like to work out or to study, when you try to do those things, it's kind of guaranteed that you will fail at first because you're trying to change one habit into another. So when you try to avoid video games by working out, it's kind of guaranteed that you'll fail because you'd want to play the video game more instead of working out. So don't let failure stop you. But instead, when you do fail, try to work towards that and find out what made you fail. And then try to not do that the next time you try again. So again, first step, slow down and don't act on impulse. And second, focus on the action and not the goal. And then last, don't let failure stop you. And the fourth one is do me a favor, live.